Aloha guys, Kolo here, host of the podcast Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship, where you're listening right now. So thank you again for tuning in. We have an incredible episode today that we went a little bit over time with Kumu Michelle Manu. Just so grateful for her time. But I also wanted to tell you guys about an incredible tool that you can use for your fitness at home or in any fitness space that you have, or even if you're out on a field, you can attach it to the fence. And it's super, super dynamic. It's the Anchor Fitness cable machine or cable row machine. And it's just this small, like portable rowing machine. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a cable tool that you can bring with you anywhere. So it's going to be super helpful if you're training your team outside, if you're training maybe your private clients outside or at your home gym, or if you just have a home gym and you're looking for something that's not going to take up too much space, but give you that really nice dynamic movement that you can get from a cable machine. This is the one to go with. You can get dual systems so that you get that double action. And I'm so proud to be a part of their growth. And we have an affiliate code with them. So TASCOFIT11, TASKOFIT11, and you can get $50 off any purchase of $458 or more. So, which is what you'll be spending even on the lower model, but I promise you, it's not going to be one that you regret. So be sure to plug that in and you guys can get $50 off of that. So enjoy the episode, guys, and mahalo. Aloha, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship podcast. I'm your host, Kolo, and I'm here with Kumu Michelle Manu, and she is a 10th Black Belt and a rarely seen ancient Hawaiian combat art lua. She's the only woman accepted as a disciple and to earn the title of teacher, which is Kumu, under Grandmaster Olohe Solomon Kaihewalu in over 40 years, which is incredible in itself. But not only that, Michelle is also the only woman thus far to be given the designation of Knight Commander, which is an amazing and awesome title. And that's of the Royal Order of Kamehameha I for your continued work in promoting, protecting, and perpetuating the Hawaiian culture through Lua, which I definitely got that off your website because that was a lot of information I want to make sure to get correct. And you're also the only you were inducted into the 2016 Martial Arts History Museum's Hall of Fame. And that was for altering the course of history of martial arts. And then, there's so much more to go over. And lastly, I want to just go over your accolades in law, which like I was just telling you before, Michelle, I just learned about. So you are a multidisciplinarian who holds a law degree. You've credentials from Harvard Business School. You also earned a Juris Doctorate, business credentials from George Washington University. And there's so much more into the senior executive leadership credentials from Harvard Business School, 2020 candidate for double doctorate, metaphysical science and philosophy. And last but not least, you are an actress and fight choreographer and professional Polynesian dancer and teacher. Whew, Michelle, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Kolo. I noticed of errata. My Juris Doctorate is not from George Washington, and somewhere someone said that, and it's just perpetuating. But yes, so law degree, business credentials, and so project management credentials. And I think, it's interesting, like you being a woman, our society has tried to, pin us into one or the other, right? Beauty, brains, or brawn. And I think that, we're seeing more of us women stepping into the space that's been created for us in all of these areas. And we can be all things. And if it's someone's mistake in underestimating us or only being able to see us as one dimensional, then that's their issue. One of the issues for me is, being the nerdy legal girl, but then also having this other life, being a cultural ambassador, a very serious one that takes her kuleana very serious. And the promotion and the exposure of the koa wahine, the woman warrior who hasn't had representation in over 200 years. Being a fight coordinator or a fight actress, or even, she's just a martial model type of thing, can also get us dismissed fairly quickly. So knowing who we are is really the substrate of everything we do and say and become. And I think that when these shots come or you do get dismissed, you feel the ego come up and say like, hey, don't you know who I am? That's not even that. It's more of, hey, you know what? I'm actually contributing to this world, and it isn't ego focused. It isn't ego driven. It's not ego based. And so, being able to be graceful and elegant in that and still maneuver powerfully, because we know who we are. It doesn't matter what others have to say. So just just as a preface before we get started,
No,
who
I
we
mean,
are.
that's
Yeah, it's so
important. Do
important.
you
Yeah.
do you find yourself still struggling with that sometimes, or like you are fully like you've come into your own through the martial arts practice and through your law experience, and just kind of you're, every time I look, you are everywhere and all over the place. So you're having that contact with people and experiences, and living through that experience. And I know that often helps a lot to better understand yourself and others. And just, obviously with age too, we get better
Yes.
with that. But do you find yourself still struggling with that at all, or?
No, I think it is now at this stage is every time it happens, it's just another instance to where I can master myself. And it's just such a beautiful affirmation when it happens. You're like, oh, it's that again. Oh, sorry for them. Here I am. And it's really, it's not like an aggressive, toxic feminist point of view. It's more of, I'm just going to stay in my space and you're not going to breach it. And that's just really how it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't struggle with it. I think it's disappointing that we're still here, but it's to be expected. I think that we're more and more of us women step into these roles powerfully, that I think that the world will change. And until then, we're going to be confronted with it. And it's just based on how we respond to that. Yeah, it's good. It's affirming for us. It pours more cement around where we stand, right? So it's good. Mm-hmm.
I think personally, my hardest thing sometimes is like learning to respond rather than react to certain things, especially when I'm a very competitive person. So especially when like guys, or even like one of my uncles, he's very like, he's not like exuberant of bravado, but he'll say some dumb shit that I'm like, and like him and I always butt heads, because it's just like, well, women look for strong men, and like, whatever, like a woman can't beat me or something like that. And I'm like, I mean, yes, maybe, yeah, for sure. Like I want you, like, or whomever, like my future husband, whatever, to be a strong man in it of himself, but
Me
to
too.
also understand
Secure,
that
right?
and to also understand that I am a strong woman and I can also handle myself. But you know what? Not every woman is like that either. Like some do like to have that relationship where
100.
it is that little bit of division, and that's also okay. Like my cousin is like that,
Absolutely.
and no problem. But I am not. Like, I want to know that, like, and sorry, we're going off into different tangents, but like,
I love it.
I want to know that like my future relationship goals, right, is going to be me and my future partner, like we're on the like field of battle, wherever that may be, like in reality or like wherever, and we got each other's back. Like,
Yes.
I can handle myself. I know you can handle yourself, but you also know that I'm your backup, and vice versa. So,
and I just found mine. So it took a while, and my boyfriend is, he knows rule number one, and that's I get to do whatever the hell I want to do. And he supports that.
yeah.
And then
so should he, right? Like he gets the same rule, like he can do whatever the hell.
Yeah, it's totally mutual. And then the second one is, if I didn't tell you about it, you don't need to know.
Yes, so thank you. And so just trusting each other, really well. Yeah.
No,
oh,
100.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's a pretty amazing.
That's awesome, Michelle. That's so many good vibes. I love it.
Thank you.
So back into the podcast. Sorry. These are amazing things though, and things that are important for everyone. I was just talking to somebody about this podcast like yesterday, and they were very much so, I understand, like, kind of, I don't think men always know how to support this. Like, I think it's like to support women, and it's just, honestly, it's like, just like treat us as equals. Like it's not that, like, you don't have to go above and beyond. You have to be like, woohoo, woman power. Like, yes, but just, how about just like human power? Let's go. Like, I don't know.
No, it's true. It's not women's rights anymore. It's women's power. We have it. We just need to remember how to use it. And I think there was this one saying that I saw that a couple of days ago. It was like the ultimate, what was the ultimate indication of health of a man is the health of his woman. And I think we could use that too with, it's obviously genderless, right? Yeah. So, gosh, when we get stuck in relationships, where you have to ask yourself, is this the right one, relationship in person? Because if we feel, and it may not even be our partner's problem, like if we feel we're giving something up to be in the relationship, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
So really, that's what it comes down to. If we are hindering or suffocating or snuffing out any part of ourself, whether it's traits or gifts or wanting experiences, then we need to move on and stop prolonging the pain. Just get it over with. But if we can find someone that really celebrates who we are, even our because we're crazy, you know, the powerful wahine, we're nuts. And but that's the excitement of it too, is we're always shifting, we're always evolving, we're always out there making a difference and an impact in the world. And if someone is not secure in who they are as our significant other, it's going to cause trouble for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, better to determine that sooner than later.
And I want to bridge that too, because that goes the same for work life, work relationships, in a sense of like how you are in whatever company you might work for, or maybe you don't want to work for that company anymore and you decide to work for yourself. And again, it doesn't always play out for people who want to work for themselves. Like they find that maybe that becomes a toxic relationship because they aren't ready for that. But for those of us that are, that's just, you know, it's because we've kind of experienced that toxicity or are just ready to move on from what we were
jump
in.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to talk to you, Kumu. So what is your full-time right now? Do you have a full-time? Are you full-time teaching martial arts? Is that your quote unquote part-time? Like, I don't even like calling it part-time. I was just talking with somebody about that yesterday, which we'll go into, but what is your full-time, and when do you have time to teach martial arts?
Oh my goodness. So I don't know. It's funny because people will also piggyback on what you said, like, oh, your real job, or you know, it's a hobby. It's like, no, it's a kuleana, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I work a regular job. I'm in law at a genetics company currently, and I run all of the global legal operations, as well as I'm a contract owner. So I also review and redline and negotiate. But so I teach. Luckily, since COVID, I was able to go fully remote. So I'm able to work, and I'm balancing. Like right now, I have my computer right here. And I've been working since 4 a.m. Hawaii time, because that's 7 a.m. California time. That's where the headquarters is. And so I do that, and I balance if I have something else to do. And then I teach in the evenings, and I travel, and I teach weekends. So I pretty much am able to operate as an entrepreneur fully now, and don't have to actually be in the office, in my window office, and check in. And so I get, honestly, it could be a double-edged sword as well, because then like last night, I'm working on some subpoenas for medical records at 4:30 California time, 1:30 our time here. And I'm still working at that time. And then I'm up at, 6 our time here in Hawaii. So you get less sleep, you're balancing everything. There is a fear of missing something. Something's going to fall through the cracks. And you're a ping pong. And I think, while most of our patriarchal society will say, oh, women are all over the place, they can't focus, I think that's our strength, right? We get to puppeteer everything, and we're so amazing at governing like our priorities and what needs to happen. And honest to God, when it gets this busy, it's really one thing at a time, like what's next. And that's, I think, how we survive and how we thrive and how we're successful, because it's also at the forefront of our mind too. It's almost like cramming, right? For finals, so it's kind of like living that way. Everything has its time and place, right? And that's how we survive. That's what I do during the day. And sometimes I teach during the day and have privates, or I have student evaluations, and I just get right back into my legal work.
So this is a question I ask a lot, because I am not always very good at it. Prioritization, because everything's important to me. Right. And that's the perfectionist in me. And I'm trying to get better at it. Like everyone, all my friends who are good at it keep buying me these agendas and like books to write things down there. Like, So like, I've gotten different ones from different people. My cousin, who's also an entrepreneur, she was on the podcast. Actually, she was like the first episode. She recently gifted me a really nice agenda book, which is actually better. My other friend, who's also a lawyer in New York City and a martial artist too, she just got her black belt in Jeet Kune Do. So
awesome.
she had gotten me also like one of her favorite like notebooks, like a German brand anyway, but it's got kind of like dots all over, so you can kind of make checklists, and it's a little more open-ended. But I think when it's like that for me, I start writing everything in it. Like, even though I'm trying to keep it like organized and I'm trying to make sure I'm doing and prioritizing, I still, it's it still seeps in, like the things that I shouldn't be prioritizing necessarily first. So going back to my question to you is like, how do you prioritize? How do you know what's important? How do you time manage? Because you have a lot going on. You've got travel, you've got jet lag, you've got everything, but you keep at least most of the time I've seen you, you are keeping your energy up, you're giving it to people. And how do you make sure you don't get lost in the sauce yourself?
Oh, see, it's hard because I think also if you don't have like I call it life support team, and people that they're the inner circle, and there's only a few
Yeah.
that you can go to really bear everything and to not even necessarily get guidance. It's like when you speak to these trusted beloveds, right? The Kool-Aid of your life, there's this awareness that comes, you start to understand more, and then things are revealed as you're talking to them. It's kind of like our journal also. When we write, it serves that purpose. So it's hard. You've got the checky list, and then you've got the actual where you journal and you write to yourself, or you write to someone or something, looking for revelation, and the in between, the hidden, the kauna that's in what you're saying. Like, really, what is the subconscious? What are you trying to tell yourself there? What's the message? What's the lesson? How do you move? I think it's kuleana, the duty. I was raised, everyone gets 1,000% from me, everyone and everything. And it's at my own detriment. I'll kill myself just to fulfill my word.
Yeah.
And as I mature, I realize not everyone deserves that level of kuleana from me. A stranger may not want it, given a life or death situation. You're going to have the narcissists and those that are takers come and abuse that. And then you're going to have those that actually need it, your loved ones that you have vowed to, given your word, and should receive 100% of your kuleana and aloha and support. You have nothing left to give them. And now you fail them. So either way, we feel like we're failing. We feel like we're not connected with ourselves. We're completely, I call it by death by 1,000 cuts, because we cannot focus on one thing at a time. How I prioritize now is this important? Is this more important than my self-care or my rest? Or why is this presented itself to me? Do the kupuna actually want me to impact these individuals? Or what is is there one person here that needs to hear what I have to say, or needs to feel what I need to do on them? Or they need to move in this life-giving, life-taking energy of Lua in the ancient ways. So that's really how I focus. Obviously, my job is very important. It helps me fund everything, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us, we want to share, we want to impact. So we don't have really this value for monetary energy, but we need it. We need it because it's a resource, because we know we could probably think of 5 to 10 things right now that we would do for others and ourselves if we just had the monetary resource. So recontextualizing what money means to us and ability to do things with that money helps us to stay focused on also the exchange of energy that we're giving out. There must usually be an exchange, right? Because that's fair. And that in the law, the universal law of physics. So I try to understand who deserves my kuleana, how much and when. And then I look at what's being presented to me as opportunities, because I say, kupuna, use me, you've prepared me, send me, I'll go. But some of these things are also too sent in a counter energy to kind of pull you off your path, right? And we see that with our loved ones going through things to pull off our path. We know, oh, they need us. So we do, but there's at some point when we need to cut off and say, I can't step in anymore. This is yours. I need to focus on this. And I guess it's just self-discipline, right? And learning when it's enough is enough. And when we need to turn inward and feed ourselves. So long-winded answer.
No, I mean, that's why we're here. They're there to hear me talk, that's why I love to bring on the guests, because it's just that conversation that people need to hear. And like you said, maybe the kupuna is helping us to drive the conversation and what everyone needs to hear too. So kupuna, I am understanding it means elders. correct? But in this case, it also means ancestor. Am I
Yes, correct. I mean, they're also used culturally now as the elderly, right? Over
Yeah.
55, which I'll be there soon. No,
Go
but
for it.
definitely, yeah, the ancestors, the ancients, in which we are them here now in physical form. They cannot do their work and expose our culture and ask for us to awaken certain parts of our culture if we weren't here in physical form. We are them here now. And
Yeah.
knowing that really steers us and keeps us hopefully integrous and not misuse the a little bit of authority and power they've trusted in us. So yes, that's what it means. And they intercept all the time, and I'm sure they're intercepting now. So
Yeah. I'll definitely go into that a little bit more later too. So just kind of going back to, how did this all start for you? Just going back to maybe 17, 18-year-old Michelle, what
Ooh.
brought you into law? Where did this all start? And was that what you saw for yourself? Did you go into college, like knowing like, I want to be a lawyer, or in doing your type of law? Like, so where did it start, and what was your initial vision for yourself?
I didn't want to get married ever. I didn't want to have any children. I wanted to be a businesswoman. This is what I wanted as the oldest of five. So
What
helping
kind
to
of
rear
businesswoman?
children, just
Sorry.
anything business, maybe
Okay.
even international. I had no idea what I wanted to really do. At that time, I was already touring in the Midwest at 15. So I also working a lot of jobs. And then I realized that it really is about hourly rate. Like,
Mm,
we can work full time, but really, what are we getting paid per hour? And that really was important. If I was going to spend my time away from my daughter, my husband at the time, or the things I really wanted to do, that it needed to actually equate to more than what others, if I just stayed in these dead end jobs. They were jobs, they
yeah.
weren't careers. So I decided to go to a paralegal school while I was working as a legal secretary. Then I got hybrided into the paralegal, and then I graduated, and then I was working as a paralegal, and then I just decided I was handling like 128 federal and state cases that were going to trial. And I wanted to take a course on federal evidence because we were just starting to cover the federal aspect, and it was so much more organized than like state law. I was like, I
Yeah.
need to take a course. And I ran into a first of its kind, this hybrid type of executive Juris Doctorate. And they also had a regular Juris Doctorate. And I was like, I'll just take the federal evidence course, and I'll be done with it.
Mhm.
And then I went to speak to my manager. She's like, just enroll for the JD. There's no reason why you shouldn't. We'll pay for a portion of it, pay for majority of it. I was like, oh,
You're like,
okay.
thank
So
you.
yeah, so I did it. And it took me 3.5 years working full time. I was on probation because I was only supposed to work 20 hours a week. And I was absolutely not working 20 hours a week. And I had a young daughter, and but this is how I operate, fast speed. And this goes to our Lua training
Yep.
sidebar. An elder says that the Lua version for the Wahine was far deadlier than the Kane version, and that we had to learn quick and we had to master it quick because we had so much to care for. So anyway, I feel like that's pretty much ingrained in the DNA for some of us.
Yeah.
And so that was no different with law school. So I graduated in '07, and I've been in law now 26 years. And it was the right thing for me. But while I was touring and all of that,
What were you
I
touring?
was
You were doing your, I'm sorry to interrupt. So you were
no.
touring doing professional hula, no?
Yeah, right. So
Okay.
Polynesian, and
At
all over the
15, you said.
Midwest. Started at 15, yeah.
Okay.
And then I moved back to Southern California, and was still working. And then I started teaching ABA paralegal school, ABA approved paralegal school. And then I started teaching law school while I was still working. And I left litigation in '08, but in '98 February, I started training with my Olohe. So you had that. And then I started playing semi-pro football, and my marriage fell apart. And so I had all this anger, I had all this
Yeah.
rage, and I had all this confusion. And I always say, like, on our fitness level and self-care is we need to match our spiritual state at the time.
Yeah.
So if you're angry, you're confused, you need to, whether it's with yourself, a situation, or someone else, or several people, is to burn yourself out. And,
Yeah.
heavy body weight activities, punch the crap out of something until you've got nothing left. Kick the crap out of something. Go for a sprint until you break down and you let all that energy out. And you'll notice it lasts about 15 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. And then you have clarity, and then you have vision again. And so I didn't know all of that. So I
Yeah.
resorted to full contact football, full contact Lua, and worked through, I didn't date for 8.5 years and focused on my academia, raising my daughter, and obviously my lifestyle of full contact, everything.
Yeah.
And it was the best decision for me. I did not know that I would be placed in this role now to represent the woman warrior. And over now 203 years, she's had no representation.
Yeah.
But I look back now and I see that all of it was preparation, and that I was just following the leading in which to move down the path. And it seemed it would illuminate as I step forward in courage. And it's still very much the same. And it's still very much the same of, if for a second, I think this is the Michelle Manu show, then it will, I'm no longer useful for the cause, because I'm not here to say, look how grand I am. I'm here to say, hey, look, everyone awaken to this information. If I can do this, so can you. And I know you know this. I know you can feel it, and let go of the fear, step out of the unlocked cage. And this is what awaits you. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, and I think I'm just tired of trying to awaken the sheep. And it's time to wake up the lionesses, right? Those that have been timid and on the cliff wondering, should I jump? And these are the women I intend to reach, because the more of us that are out there, the more that we're representing, the more the divine feminine, the Hina, can move. And that's what we need right now. And we need the strong, secure men to publicly and privately support us as well. Because if we can do all we want and all we can in stepping out of that cage. But until men understand how powerful we are, and that we're here to complement them and not take over, it's hard for them to understand, especially the older generations, right? Mm-hmm. Men and women. So anyway, yeah, that's how I came to be here. I don't even know how it happens. It's just one step at a time.
That's an important one step at a time, or as my Spanish teacher used to say, poco a poco, little by little. Which has always stuck with me, like my Spanish professor in college. There's so much I want to tack in what you just said too. Full contact, I totally understand. And also like the burnout factor, but I personally always end up injured because I just go full force and then I hurt myself.
Don't break your structure.
It's so annoying. I swear to God, because I want to put all of that. And obviously there's other ways, right? If you can't do something, there's always another way. Like you can do, like if you have an ankle that's messed up, guess what? You got your abs and everything else. You don't have to be on your ankle. But it's not necessarily that same that you get when you're like sprinting. Like
I know.
I play
using your full body.
Yeah. And so I used to play roller hockey when I was a kid. I was the only girl on the team. My first sport, I was like in T-ball, which isn't full contact, but I was the only girl on the team. And then, I just loved roller hockey. Like my grandma she's my best friend. She just passed away in June. And I got to be there to hold her hand. Thank you. That was what I was going to go on with the kupuna about, but, and just energies with that. But she was always laughing at me. She's like, yeah, Colo's my nickname, but she would say Courtney. She's like, Courtney just loves getting on that rink and just like knocking into people. And I'm like, that's all right, Grandma. It really was. I'd be sliding across the ground trying to block that puck. And now I play an ancient Irish sport called hurling. And that one's so awesome. I actually just started a team here in Hawaii. Our first practice is Sunday. And it's like 1 or 2 people right now, or 3, but it's fierce. It's fast. You use a hurley, which is, it's a very similar sport to like baseball, lacrosse, soccer, hockey, all rolled into one.
Wow.
And you're going to have to YouTube it after this because it's incredible. What I don't understand though, is like, so they call the men's version hurling and they call the women's version camogie. And it's not that different. Literally, like you can't shoulder check. You can maybe hip check. I think in Ireland, I don't know if that's still like the case, but like you're still running into each other full body trying to get that slit or the ball. And it's so much fun. And it's so like you can sprint, you have your team. So you learn to like work with each other, rely on each other. And it definitely works with fitness, both in martial arts and just in general.
Oh gosh, can you imagine with all the running? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really exciting. So I understand the full contact and wanting to get that out. Like I said, it just sucks because I'm always injuring myself, both in martial arts and in that. But just going back to, let's talk about Lua a little bit more, which also when I tell people here, it's called Lua. I am told
Lua.
I don't know what that part means, but they tell me that Lua means toilet. So
yeah, no, of course.
Where did it come from for this then? And can you tell us more about Lua and how you got involved in it? I know it's was derived, or it was hidden within hula. And I know that's what you were doing at 15, but how did you get to learning it and wanting? I've heard the story of you calling in to try and train with the master, and it's incredible. Sorry, I know I'm going all over the place, but I'm
No,
like,
no, no, no.
there's so much. Because before I got here to Hawaii, like I like to look up like what martial arts are specific to the place, right? And Guru Dan Inosanto also like
Yeah.
does that. He was teaching me about like a shillelagh, like art from Ireland that I didn't even know about, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So here I looked up before I got here, like what was the inherent art here, and that's when I saw like a YouTube on that as well about Lua. And of course it was all men, and like they were like, no women are here, and I'm like, what the fuck, like what? What fuck not, like. But I get it, but it's nice to meet the woman who is. So please tell us about that, how
Aw.
you started it, and just where it's taken you.
Thank you, Polo. So I, just quickly back to what we were talking about, how we got here. There's a
Sure.
quote, and I don't know if you saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, that
Yep.
metaphysical movie. Okay, with Michelle Yao. And Alpha Wayman says, every rejection, every disappointment has led you here to this moment. And that's what I feel like my life has been. I mean, I can look back now and see how this has prepared me. And so prepared me for what? To stand here as a representative of the woman warrior. Post colonial, post contact, everything was written not even by our own people, but by visitors who came with a very masculine point of view, and honestly only a masculine point of view. So we don't have we have where it ceased to document the woman warrior, was a little over 200 years ago. I was lucky enough, after some persistence, to be accepted as a student, Haumana of Solomon Kaihewalu, Olohe of the Kaihewalu lineage, who was taught by his mother and father, his mother of royal lineage out of Kauai, the Kaukini and Kai'eha families. There's stories of how she was a better Lua practitioner than his father, yet we use Kaihewalu Lua. So clearly her royal lineage of Lua, Kaukini, and Kai'eha is contained within the patriarchal use of Kaihewalu. So I would love to actually research more of that in the future, just so I can honor those two lineages as well. I don't know, it's a risky place to stand here today. It's a risky place because there is ego. This has been such a closed community. You said Lua, yes, means toilet. Ancient term is kui'alua or kapu, kui'alua. It is, it started as an empty-handed form. It went to closed fist, and then eventually our own weaponry. And then of course, Kamehameha brought in the metal weaponry. Lua, yes, you ask Kameno, can I use your Lua? Where's your Lua? In the fighting sense, it means the deep, dark pit behind the house in which you bury your waste. So we want to eye or eat. Eye is technique. Eye also means to eat. Actually be so close, we absorb our opponent, and we, with a beautiful circular movement or straight down, put them deep into the pit. So we use the ground to bust. We use the ground to help break our assailant, our opponent. And that's where the word Lua comes in. It's, you are burying your waist in the deep, dark pit behind the house. That's awesome. Yeah.
No, thank you for like saying that. Cause like I said, I was telling my neighbors here who helped me kind of learn, like they're learning Olelo, is it a Hawaiian?
Yeah.
Culture. And their kids are involved
History,
in
language.
their kids are involved in the oh my goodness, I said this word the other day. Not incorporated, but they're involved in the Hawaiian school, like to learn about their heritage.
Immersion.
Thank you. That's the word, immersion.
Sure.
So they're teaching me a little bit. They learn, the Hawaiian songs, and they're,
good.
I'm so grateful because, I want to learn. I want to give back to what is given to me, and, not just come in here like guns blazing, but energy blazing. Like I'm here not to put my energy on you in a negative way, but if we can share each other's energy, and like I can learn from you and you're open to learning from me. Yeah. Because we do each have something to offer, and
yes,
whatever color you may be. Yeah. Like it's
absolutely
just as long as we're open to it, there's so much to learn from each other. And you are family. Like, my neighbor here, she's Filipina. I don't know what else. I think she might have Hawaiian blood as well, but her
Yeah.
husband is also same. Like he's got white blood, he's Hawaiian, like Hawaiian. And I think actually
Nice.
Philippine as well, but I'm not
Mhm.
100% sure. But the point is, it's like, and it's a hard line too, because right, there's like local here versus like actual Hawaiian, like Hawaiian blood. And even if
The
you have
native
Hawaiian blood in you, yeah, native,
cocoa.
yeah, it's not, you're not seen as like 100%. So it's a hard line. And just kind of lastly on that, even like the gentleman who did the kauhi on me, like the tattoo, he's half white and half Hawaiian. Like his family lineage is there, but he's also experienced things like that too, where it's like, oh well, you know, are you that? But meanwhile, he's given his all to this
Yes, it's
art.
cultural
Sorry.
practice. As
Mhm.
actual cultural practice.
Yep.
I think there's it's also pre-contact to want to percent, you know, do this percentage of blood or cocoa because of why land rights. Same
Yeah.
with marriage. Why did we suddenly go from a matriarchal society to patriarchal?
Yeah.
Land rights.
Mm.
Everything is about land, right? Everything is about laws and land. And if
Material.
yeah, we need to
essentially.
let go of that. And if someone has 0.001% blood, they are Hawaiian, period.
Yeah.
If you have come here and assimilated and are working in the culture, you are national. You live here. You are local, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And
And I'm
it's
just
our
here to learn.
contribution. Yeah, it's our contributions, right? That really our essence is important, because I'll tell you, we do have some natives that have forgotten who they are. They're stuck in a system and they're not contributing to the welfare of the community as a whole. You know what? We need to all step up, right?
Yeah.
And care about our community, care about our Aina and the people that inhabit it, right? Their overall health. So there's just an awakening, I think, going on altogether. And I think with the Hina rising, I think that's going to help balance the energies here on the land and maybe awaken some of those that are natives that have forgotten. It's hard, you know, they fight against this invisible boogeyman that's still very much present. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All of us to an extent. And you know, what I love about here though, and what I've learned so far is like, aloha doesn't just mean hello and goodbye. It's an energy.
Uh-huh.
It's giving back. It's sharing. It's what we've talked about. And it's just understanding, being kind to one another and helping
Yeah.
each other to grow. And, you know, it's, everybody's going to get into like, oh, is it, social, whatever. You know what it is? It's taking care of yourselves locally and just trying to build good nature, good understanding, and warriors within each other, I think. But that's just my experience with
No,
it.
that's beautiful. I would like to add to that it's
Sure.
not always turn the other cheek aloha either. We've got
Right. No.
religion that's mixed into this whole concept of the 1950s aloha, right? Aloha
Mhm.
state. It's more huku, where it's reflection.
Yeah.
If you come with
Yes.
me with poor intentions, you will get poor intentions. We have every right to stand in that. We don't just sit there and get pummeled and take it. If you look at it like a Lua technique, if someone's going to punch me, I'm not just going to sit there and take it. I'm going to parry, I'm going to counter, and I'm going to
Yep.
lay you out. Same with life, right? If you're going to come with me with poor intentions, then you're going to get the same back and then some. If you're going to come to me with aloha and support, then yes, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
and this is where we're lacking wisdom. And this is where the narcissists and those
Mhm.
that want to take advantage get to come in and just completely bulldoze us. And we end up blaming ourselves because our boundaries aren't healthy, right?
Yeah.
We're not using our voice and standing in the space that we need to. We should not have to be abused
Right.
in the sake of in the concept of aloha.
Right. And it's understanding how to set those boundaries. So,
Yes.
and again, just kind of driving that back into business as well. Like, first of all, life is about relationships with yourself, with
Yes.
others. Like we've talked about this, and it's, you know, understanding where you need to go within the relationship. Like if you're not happy, it doesn't necessarily mean give up on it. It means make sure that you try like and exhaust all avenues if that's what you want to do and give back to. And then if it doesn't work, then okay, then, you know, come to hopefully an agreement. But it's not always like, you know, rainbows and roses. Like it might
glitter.
not end the right way. Yeah. And you know what, that's okay too. It's understanding that. And that's things that I'm learning too in relationships, and understanding my own power and not being bullied, like mentally, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Because
being
like
manipulated.
I'll get some bravado too, you know, and I get competitive, but that's also not like people can know how to push my buttons because I'll push right back, you know? So and martial arts has helped with that as well, which I'm sure you've incorporated. Like martial arts has helped with my life, like with understanding business, with understanding relationships. And again, you're always learning. Like getting your black belt doesn't mean like you are end all be all. That means you're back at the beginning, and with a
Absolutely.
higher understanding. So
Yeah, you have the foundation to continue. Yeah, to
yeah,
become
and
advanced.
it's even better because okay, now you're just really, really good at the basics. So let's start learning.
Right, that's so true.
So let's
Excellent
just kind
point.
of thank you. Let's go back into how did you start your business as Michelle Manu, I guess. Like what is
Ooh.
your entrepreneurial goal? Like where did that start? How did you create, like did you do an LLC? Like what is all that kind of detail so we can because obviously like you said you have your full-time job in the legal aspect. When was the moment, let's backtrack a little. When was the moment you decided to go into business for yourself as well? And that's with is that like doing Lua, or I'm sorry, is that teaching Lua and the acting, or if you can tell me a little bit
Sure,
more about
sure. No,
all that.
I get what you're saying.
Thanks. Picking
It's
up
a
what
little
I'm putting down.
confusing. No, yeah, absolutely. Drop it like it's hot. I'll pick it up. Yeah, I don't know. It was like 2013, 2010, I got permission to teach for the first time to a
Okay.
specific group of women, Pacific Association of Women Martial Artists,
Ooh,
specific weaponry for a specific amount of time in a
geez.
specific way. He set me up to fail.
Yeah.
There's no way you can have 4 weapons going at the same time with 4 groups and
Mm-hmm.
still give quality attention. So when I returned, he said, how did it go? And I said, not good. No, wasn't great. Olohe wasn't great at all. He knew that. He knew
Yeah.
I would be so obedient that I would listen to everything he said. Because it's the first time I had to hound him for 2 years.
Sure.
Is it okay? And honestly, I didn't really even want to work with women. So I thought, who cares? But they kept calling.
Yeah.
So I get back and I said, no, it was horrible. And he goes, well, what did you learn? I said, I have to do my own way. And he said, okay, there you go. So in 2013, he said, I want you to go and do this thing. And I said, okay. And then I came back and they said, they wanted information. Do I send them to you? He's like, no, do your own. So at that time I created the website, michellemanu.com. And I didn't know what to call it. I'm like, this seems really arrogant. Like,
Yeah.
it's my name. Like,
Yeah.
oh. And people were not having it. They weren't liking it. They're like, oh, she's all that now. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Oh man. Yep.
yeah, just very uncomfortable with that leap of faith, right? And being supported by him, also being drawn by the kupuna,
Mm-hmm.
saying, do this, and then all of a sudden I started teaching women more and more. The She program, Superhero Experience for regular, everyday, non-martial women, was birthed, where,
That.
you're immortal, you're immortal and you turn super, and, they work out, they have the coolest gadgets, right? They have all these cool techniques, they're prepared, they're aware.
Yeah.
They don't double guess their gifts and talents, and all of this starts to birth itself, and I'm getting more and more requests. And then I really started to own my space and thought, you know what, no, this is helping women. I'm seeing this firsthand. Like, Kolo, it's so amazing when you at the end, or even at the end of a technique, up against a hammer or a zip tie escape or anything like that, where you can see the spirit pull the body up. It's
Yeah.
not this like, whoo, like arrogance. It's like, hey, I can and I am. And I think that's the thing. Like, we're no longer, I'll do this, and I want to, and I'll try. We're always waiting for something. When we start using I am statements, oh my gosh, you really feel the power, the mana in that, because you're stepping into it. I am statements. So if we can do that more and more, like, if you're journaling, I would like blah, blah, blah. No, I have. I am. These are very important things. So anyway, so the She started birthing, then I started traveling, and it just, I don't know, more and more invites. And I thought, is this where you want me to go? I'll go. What do you want me to teach? And I'm kind of a pain in the butt, because I'll be like, okay, I have to like leave here in 2 hours. What do you want me to teach? Because I need to pack
Yeah.
appropriately. And then nothing comes. I'm like, hello, is this
like
thing working?
Me? Like, do you? It's fine.
Right. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to teach what I want, and then the downloads come while I'm teaching. So it's really this beautiful commune like that I have. Even happened last night, while I was with the women of Papakolea at the homestead. It was gorgeous. I mean, just seeing the power transform and translate into so personal, it's such a personal journey for each one of us. And they know just how to speak to us, to transform us, to give us that much more, to move us forward. So I just kept training. My hazing period with Olohe was at least 8 years, if not 10 major injuries, major.
Yeah.
And I was only female, and not wanted. I have tape of someone saying that, that it was his job to make me quit. Yeah. And he tried. And I don't know, I just keep stepping more and more into this space that has, I don't know, opened up. And I don't know, it's so powerful to see all the rest of the wahine in the culture now, and also outside of the culture, that are being drawn to Lua specifically. And so, I mean, I overdo it, and I get lectured all the time, you know, you need to sleep, you need to, yes, 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 and I will. But it's just so powerful to see the movement happening right now. And I think for us Wahine in training, it is our skill set that earns us respect, not the waha, you know, not our lineage. It's what our body says. Our body talks, and our body is our ultimate rank. And that means that these are perishable skills, and that we must care for ourselves in all realms, spiritual, emotional, you know, vocational, financial. All of these contribute to who we are and how effective we are here. And our shape, right? I mean, our fist, our shape in which we, and our essence in which we attack everything. And we really need to pay attention to that more and more, especially now with this awakening.
Yeah. I think it's incredible. Like I said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I think no matter what martial arts or physical movement that you do that helps you, it's just going to make your brain even better. Like, so just move, even if it's just starting by walking like every day. I do want to go back to asking you about journaling, but just to kind of end off on this statement here, like, I do think it's important though to learn some sort of martial art, even if it's just take a couple of self-defense classes, although a couple is not going to give you what you need, but it might give you an idea, and maybe just an idea of like kind of where you need to work on. But, you know, obviously I'm partial to Jeet Kune Do, but Jeet Kune Do is everything. Jeet Kune Do is Lua, Jeet Kune Do is Taekwondo, Jeet Kune Do is Muay Thai, all of these things. This is Jeet Kune Do because Jeet Kune Do is an art and philosophy. Yes, there's a core curriculum, especially that I've learned, that I've been taught by Sifu Dan Anderson and Anderson's Martial Arts Academy. And he's learned also from, you know, he's done his own curriculum, but he's also learned from Guru Dan Inosanto and many other instructors that he's worked with. So it's that, again, that lineage, but it's, you know, like you said, creating your own as well. And that is what Jeet Kune Do is. It's creating your own, and what works for you in a sense of after you've learned, though. It's not like, oh, I tried something and it doesn't work. No, you have to try it over and over and over again. So you get good at it. Then if it still doesn't work, okay, then you can get rid of it. But some things you can understand right away. Like, I'm not going to give the same techniques to like a larger size man or woman to someone who is like petite. Like, we're going to need different techniques. So you're going to need different tools in different situations and different statures. And that's what that is. And all of these different martial arts can be useful. You know, it's just, again, picking and choosing those tools that are going to work within that for your body and for what you can do and learn.
If you have that flexibility. A lot of people are like, do number 7, do number 11. Oh my God, it wasn't number, you did that wrong. It's not going to work. So it's really about, that's with my students too. You know, I say, you know, when I have a Koakane in Laie, and he's
Koakane?
You know, he's a male warrior.
That's what I thought. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. And no, in Laie, and he said that, you know, he created a hashtag, make them your own, because while I'm showing you principles and these are the movements, and this is what it's going to be if you test in Kaihewalu, but not in Nakoa with my system. Show me the animals, you know, show me what will work for you against this size opponent, against this attack. Are you going inside? Are you going outside? What does your lower body, your kane, look like? What is your wahine doing? What are the kids doing? Where are the mo'opuna doing? Where are you? What is going to work on this guy? So it's really important to make it your own. Extremely important. It's good to know what it was. And we're all going to have our favorites, right? So I prefer going outside. Some people prefer going inside. You know, it's just, I prefer my punch instead of an open hand. It's just, we have our preferences, and allowing ourselves to have those preferences and finding a teacher that will allow you to be successful the way you need to be. And it doesn't need to be concrete. You know, it's important.
This is so important for business too, because you need to make it your own as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, especially, you know, whatever your entrepreneurship, like whatever your entrepreneur dreams are, like these are the same principles. Find a mentor if you can. If you don't have that good support system, if you can have both, amazing. You know, your mentor should be someone who's really well versed within that area of business of what you want to do. but you have to also remember that, like, you might not always agree with what they're telling you or doing. It's still important to learn it. Don't negate it right away, learn it. And then later, again, if it's not working for you, then disregard it. In the
Right.
sense of like, just, okay, I have it in the
It's in the
arsenal, but
toolbox. Yeah.
exactly. But you know what? I don't necessarily need that for what I need to do, because it's a different, venture or avenue. It's a different way that you want to go, and that's okay. So you have to find your own within business. And again, having that support system, like Kumu Michelle was saying, is integral. We've talked about it a lot on this podcast too. And
Right.
make sure it's a support system that is actually supporting you in good ways, right? Like, they're going to be honest with you. They're going to tell you their opinions, which aren't always right, but they're going to be real with you. So you have to also be opened to listening. And you might push back a little at the start, but you might later see their point, but also know when somebody's just reacting out of fear for you, right? Like my parents do too. It's just like, guys, you're not helping me with understanding, like trying to get past my own fears. Like, this is not helpful. So then I, go to my cousins who have branched out. They've taken that risk. Like you were saying that before, like where you are right now, representing Lua, and your form of it is a risky place to be. But we're always, first of all, we're always in a risky place to be. You can be walking outside as just kind of going back to being just a woman. Like, it depends on how you carry yourself too, but like, you can still have that fear of just somebody coming up to you and just like groping you. Like, that's happened around here in Kailua and Lani Kai. Like, there's been somebody on like their bike, and they've gone and like groped to like 3 women who were on the jog. And it's just, it's scary. Like, even me who knows martial arts, it's like, yeah, but you can still be caught off guard, and it's okay, train to always be ready, but it could happen so fast. So, point to all of this, I just went down a rabbit hole.
No, I love it, because we do need to talk about that, because we learn in safe environments, right? We learn,
Yeah.
we pull punches, we trust the person we're working with, and we need to actually step out of our comfort zone and understand that we're not going to be comfortable. Are we going to freeze? Are we going to fight? Are we going to fawn? Are we going to go ahead and placate until we can take our shot? These things are really important. Also going into business, we need to make sure, this has happened so much to me. So they see something they like, whoever the third party may be, they approach you, they want to package you, they want to sell you, and it's not within your moral standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not illegal, but also there's this perception, male or female, whoever's approaching you, that they actually have access to you personally and your body when you enter into a business relationship. And it's after a while, you can really sense without words that is occurring, or it will occur in the future if you enter into business, whether it's for a project, it's for a specific period of time, or it's a longer business relationship in some way. And so I would caution all of us women to read between the lines and to really look at the essence of who you're doing business with. And some are masters at masking it, but when it happens, do not be surprised. And also, you don't have to respond. You can easily just stay silent and remove yourself from the relationship. So please make sure that the termination clause in any contract allows you to terminate with a 30-day notice minimum, maybe even 2 weeks, depends on your relationship, without any cause. Okay. So at your own sole discretion, without having to prove up there was a breach or anticipatory breach, that you are able for any reason to terminate the contract. Of course, square up on any funds or give but there is no need for you to stay in that toxic relationship, business relationship, because it's very harmful. I just ended a business relationship of 3 years. That was very hurtful to do the right thing. But it was necessary, because I will not let anyone get in the way of this mission. This is my life's purpose. I will die for it. I might die for it. You just never know. And I will be damned if my inner circle is the one that's sabotaging it. Like, what better way of distraction for the opposite energy to get in and really get in there and disrupt everything. So, be wise, and don't be scared to do a U-turn. Don't be scared to stand in your space. Don't be scared to terminate things, because there's other amazing things waiting for you. And this might have been a little bit of a test. It's a lesson, right? But we got to learn it, because if we don't learn it, then you're going to keep experiencing it. And, I had to decline an offer for next year because that was already happening. So, that what do they call it? Grooming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Special text messages, special messages.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
tell anyone. Oh, I feel so connected to you. And it starts that what my boyfriend would call bridging, right? Trying to get in before you even arrive so that it's easier. Just those touches of affirmation happen then when you're in their presence. And then before you know it, a level of sexual touch or intercourse is then expected, right? And then you
Yeah.
have to deal with the toxic masculine, rearing out like you misled them. So just
Right.
be very careful. Us women have to be very careful in business and in our personal lives and just jogging. Keep your
Yeah.
eyes open at all times. We have
Yep.
to.
Oh, that's so important. I'm very glad that you brought that up too, because but you can say that, right? You can say, okay, be aware of that, which is good, but it's just like what we're talking about with techniques, right? Until you put it into like sparring or applicable scenarios, and you can do controlled first, and it could be just even in the smallest
Application.
sense. Yeah, in the smallest sense in your daily life. Like try to work it in a smaller scale so that when it comes in that bigger scale, you have that confidence to be able to stand within your own power, just like Michelle is saying, because we can talk to our balloons in the face saying like stand in your power, but until people understand how to do that
It takes
exactly.
courage.
Yeah, but it's just understanding how to, like, for me, it's like, okay, it takes courage. I'm like, I know I have all this, but I don't know how to execute it. Like I could think I know and all these things, but then it's like, okay, but when it comes to the actual moment, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do so that I don't put myself in a terrible situation, whether it be financial or whatever? Like, how do I do it intelligently?
Well, it's more than intelligently. It's actually very, very energetic.
Yeah,
It scopes beyond just the logic. And
sure.
and sometimes there's that you were talking about reaction. So there's the stimulus. I wrote a kind of a small little paper on this, honor the pause. And
Honor the
it's
pause.
there's the stimulus and then there's the reaction, right? Immediate emotional reaction. Well, what if
Yep.
we separated these and allowed for this pause in between? Because I can tell you right now, I have learned that silence is extremely powerful. And I know yes, are we being wronged? Yes. Are we justified and maybe having our own, emotional eruption and focused at that individual? Do we need to blast them publicly? Most likely not. I say this because there's collateral damage that comes with stepping into our power.
Mm.
And sometimes you really need that pause to say, is this person even worth it? Do I feel other women will be harmed by him in the future or by her in the future? Is that even my job to warn everyone? Or is it better? Is that part of their lesson and I'm stepping into that? This was my lesson. I own this. What have I learned? What do I do now? And I think not reacting and giving ourselves that moment of pause to determine what would cut the energetic cord to these individuals sooner is really what it's about. And sometimes that means silence. It means not even responding, letting them have the last word and just removing yourself entirely and moving on. So sometimes it's blasting, sometimes it's spreading the word quietly about like, hey, I wouldn't get involved, or this is the issue that I had with this individual on a business, not gossiping. You're telling others because they're in relationship, or it's complete radio silence, crickets. And that's sometimes the best for us because you just move on.
That's awesome. So with thank you for sharing that too, and your perspective from it. With your, I guess, no, I don't want to call it your part-time. So with your business and your full-time, is it something that you would ever want to switch completely to, or are you happy with where you're at with working with the legal and also just being able to go around and be able to share your knowledge of Lua and experience? Like what? Sorry, go ahead.
No, don't sorry. It's so hard. I'm so used to it. I mean, it's 26 years in law. And I've been working in corporate America since I was 15. So it was a long
Yeah.
time, but I love the aspect of the intellectual part of my job.
Yeah.
And I have a great team, but I think my eternal purpose is, of course, exposing the Hawaiian warrior woman and the Lua and the beautiful parts of our culture. And I'd love to do that full time, but I speak more on AAPI during the month of May.
Yeah.
And when something happens in the public, I'm able to get on CBS News and talk about VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, and, spread the word about our amazing warrior culture, because without it, we wouldn't even be here. I mean, let's just face it. There's people shy away from Lua and the warrior culture, and they keep hula very separate. You know, we're barbarians, and there's a lot of mysticism online about Lua, you know, fireballs and portals and things like that, which is ridiculous. I don't know. I just would love to transition full time eventually. And I think eventually I will get there. And I'm looking just to build up the next generation to produce other Kumu Kokua assistant instructors, as well as Kumu, that hopefully one day will be powerful lineage holders to speak knowledgeably, mouth and body, about the warrior culture. So really that's where I'd love to spend my time full time. So we'll see, maybe in the future.
And that's incredible. And like I said, it didn't even need to be that answer. Like somebody could be like, nope, I just like having it as this part of my life. And I enjoy going to my other job as well. Like they both can flow together, and that's fine.
True.
Like for me, I do not. Like I've not had a great experience in corporate. I don't know. I did not vibe well in corporate. I worked for a small business, which I very much enjoyed. And I learned so much, but even that at a certain stage, you kind of can get stuck, and even get stuck with each other. Like they felt it and I felt it one year, and then we kind of had a break, and then I came back and like was stronger for the experience that I had within corporate. But now I could use that and kind of have that energy of small business, you know. True. But also in small business, kind of going back, it's important to have those contracts that you were talking about, because in small business, it's easy to like be like, oh, you know, or just have these relationships and it's fine. Like not within the same like context to the extent that you got to, but it could be different ones, right? With different
of course,
boundaries that aren't necessarily set, and then lots can happen. So it's good to have things in writing and agreed upon. But sorry, so going back to that, like it's okay if people want to stay in corporate and also do what their passion is, for sure, and have their own. It's even more impressive because you guys are juggling so much more at a time. And being like full-time entrepreneur with my own stuff, it's been hard because you're in debt like first 2 years, like you're just trying to crawl out of debt for the first like 2 years. Yeah. And then it's just like, oh, it's like you said, that heaviness of the monetary value kicks in, and you're just like, oh, I want to do this, but I also need to spend it on paying off that bill. And it's just, it weighs on your soul, even it like creeps up like it, but you know what? It's like, you still need to give your full energy to yourself and your students, if this is what you do, or whatever your entrepreneurial venture is.
Right.
And then there was one last thing that I wanted to hit there. Nope, that's it. I lost it. It's gone now.
I get it.
So Michelle, just because our time was winding down, I really appreciate you actually kind of going over a little bit. If there's one thing you want our listeners to gauge today, and our listeners can range from those who are maybe thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, male, female, whatever their gender is, or those who are involved already, they're maybe in the beginning stages, later stages, or maybe they're just out there, they're listening in to hear other ideas, and they would love to work with our other warrior women entrepreneurs. What is something that you want to have them gauge from today's conversation?
It is hard not to take things personally. And this is where we get too attached, because we're birthing things into the world and we're impacting others. And it's hard not to get attached to that. I would say, look at it. If you are an entrepreneur and you want this to work, you must treat your business as if it's a family member that can't care for itself. Okay. You like an LLC or an Inc. You're forming it. It's got its own identity. It's you're the face of it, but it's not. It's got its own social security number, if you will, an EIN number. It has to file its own tax. It's an entity. So instead of it looking as this intangible thing, this real intellectual property, real estate, right? Property. It's not physical real estate. It still needs management, right? And while it's you and you're the face of it, you would want your company to get the most for its services, right? So I would suggest removing yourself. And I have the hardest time with this. Don't look at it that it's you, because then you're going to give exceptions for no pay, and you're not going to make your bills, and you're not doing your family member. You're not caring for your family. It needs to eat. It needs medical attention. It needs sleep. It needs rest. It needs tools. It needs maintenance. All of these things and needs to happen for this entity that you've created and you're caring for. You're the custodian of. Also, I would not get fixated on certain things. there is a time and a place for everything, and let things flow. Let the nalu, the wave, come. It's in all different forms, like water. It presents as a solid, gaseous, and flowing. You've got to allow different seasons in your life. We're entering the Hina season now of fall soon. We've got summer smoldering down. The Ku Hina is now coming. This is a time of introspection, strategy, healing, resting up for when spring comes, the first of Ku. So now we're entering into the feminine, the coiled potential energy. And we really must be in line with Haumea and nature. And this is what we're entering into. Most of business happens between September and December anyway. Do you know that? It's so insane that most of US business occurs between September and December. And so this is a time where we're strategizing maybe for the next September, right? Or our goals, and to keep checking in with yourself. It's regardless of how we feel, emotions, there's a point there, but they're not the point. If it's useful, great, write it down, make it an affirmation, and use it. If it's not, get rid of it. Be very purposeful in your life. Be very intentful. If you're in a relationship, business or otherwise, and you know you need to stay for a little bit, set that arbitrary deadline and then leave at that point. We all have a purpose for staying in something that's not advantageous for a period of time for whatever reason. That's personal. I've had to do it several times, and I kept my word to myself. I scheduled that arbitrary deadline and I left. Things didn't change, and I needed to get what I needed to get out of that. So, separate yourself from your business, even though you are the face and it is your life's work, and blood, sweat, and tears, no sleep while you're sick, you still show up. It's still an entity. Okay. Get what you deserve so it can thrive and you can contribute to other people, and also mentor up other women. We're all at different levels of the mountain, right? And we're not, just because we're a little bit high, we're not better than the other wahine down at the different part of the plateau that we were once at. Okay. So being able to have those resources, and that's time too. And even interest, right? If we're exhausted, we don't even have the interest, we are, right?
Yeah.
And don't make things personal, really try to get control over your emotions. This is the self-mastery. They have a point, they're not the point, and maneuver gracefully and powerfully. You don't have to do anything. Remember that. And if you don't want to do an administrative task, then ask someone for their assistance, establish a trade, or to help develop their resume by paying them a minimal amount, maybe a hybrid. You're exchanging some and you're paying them a little, and you're getting the assistance that you need. And I think if for most of us alpha, very strong-willed leader women, we have a hard time delegating, and we have a really hard time trusting anyone. And this will help build that muscle of trust when we find others that we can give little tasks to and not micromanage, and be grateful. And it frees up our time and mental space. So that's some of the words of advice I would give today with who I am and what I've been through.
Wow. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think as women in general, or just me, like, whether it's good or bad, it is what it is right now. Like, I do much better at taking care of others than myself sometimes, which I think, generally, as women, we do that. And I'm not saying that as an excuse. Like, you should definitely take care of yourself, like put the mask on your friend, yourself, and then the person, like in the airplane. But, like when my grandma was sick, like I would do anything for her and everything. Like suddenly, like things you thought you'd never do, like you're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm doing this to take care of like this woman who's been incredible in my life, to everyone, not just me. And so you just care about making them better, and it doesn't matter what it takes, like, because they're scared, they're putting in that effort. Like, you have to imagine yourself in that position, but also like
I just
like
did.
Michelle, imagine, like, sorry, imagine just, yes, yourself, but also just understand that you are taking care of them and giving that energy, because they've given that to you their whole lives, and not just to you if it's this wonderful person. So anyway, sorry, down the rabbit hole again. But yes, so it helps me to understand, like, okay, business is a separate entity. It is like a family member. Like, take care of it, pay attention to it how you would in that manner, because it's going to be much better for yourself and the business. So, I wanted to ask you, I know we're running a little over and I'm sorry about
It's okay.
that.
No
I really
problem.
appreciate your time. Your journaling, how often, I'm sorry, I know I made it emotional.
Okay.
How
Bound to
often,
happen.
how often do you journal? Because you
Every
talked
night.
about that every night. Okay.
Every night, and also throughout the day if needed. If I need
Sure.
to get something out, or I'm not really fully, don't comprehend something, or something just massive has presented itself. It looks normal, but energetically it's like, woo, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will journal. And I
When
don't
did you
care if
start?
it's four lines. I mean, you just get it out, just get it
Yeah.
out, Yeah. Um, Probably when I was younger, I started my teens. Um, yeah, a lot, I think, like, obviously you don't just end up here
Right.
and things are just peaceful. My upbringing was turbulent.
Yeah.
I went to 13 different schools by the time I entered third grade. Mixed, obviously, very racial charged society. So it's and just a very hands-on biological father, right?
Yeah.
And a mentally ill mother. So you've got this perfect storm that prepares you for a lot of adversity, and having to get all of that out. Martial arts helped. I started at 9 years old.
Yeah.
But so did I was a team gymnast, competition, cheerleader, all of that. And
Yeah.
so movement's really been my drug. Movement's
Yeah.
been my savior. Movement
Meditation
is
through
my
movement.
medicine. It's my medicine.
Mhm.
And it still is, even after all these years. So
It's
yeah.
a release. It's so, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, 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 no. But so is journaling, so
Yeah.
is that putting it, and sometimes you can't find the words, right? So it's more of an essence, and it comes out when you get to actually write about it.
And I think
There's
the physical
clarity.
helps to release it because it's like you have this pent up energy. And it's funny. I know it's all kind of coming into one. You were saying like, this is like we're going into the, not
Hina.
Wahina, but Hina. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But you
Feminine
said it's coiled up energy. And I was like,
potential.
yeah, I said that the other day because I felt it like after, you'd agreed to do this, which was so grateful. Like there was a lot of amazing things happening, like good things. And like people were agreeing to come to this practice. And I'm just like, it feels like a lot of good, like it's not even negative things in my stomach, in the
Yeah.
pit of my stomach. It's good things, but it feels like
Right.
it's just sitting there. Like it's, I don't know, like it was heavy, like, and it was a wonderful thing. And I'm super grateful, but it felt like potential energy that had yet to become kinetic, but it still kept like stuffing in. And I'm like,
Yes, like
oh
a
my God.
spring. Yes.
So um anyway, I'm
Okay.
sorry. So I was just
No,
asking
it's
about
the incubation,
yeah,
Colo. It's the incubation. We get that. I get that too.
Michelle, we're just gonna have to
And
have another like podcast interview to go over so many things that we're doing. And
well, you think of the stored emotions within the body. This is what we're dealing with, right?
yeah,
So, and the ailments it causes, and also the great things it causes. So it's not just one-sided. It's fascinating.
right. And it's so, like you said, it's important. So physical, for all the entrepreneurs, everybody or anybody and everybody listening out there, physical movement helps no matter who you are. And if you're unable somehow, some way, like even the smallest of movements, like moving a toe, moving a finger, like just getting that repetition in, and just that movement, that movement of your blood in your body, like your body wants to do that. And not only that, but getting your brain to work. Your brain power is a big part of
Brain
like just,
chemistry.
yes, exactly. Which I don't fully understand the phrase, and I will ask you that in a second. But for you guys, just doing all of that, getting that in somehow, and journaling helps to release it in that way. Like I don't journal, but I write songs, I write music.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm not super great at that part, but
Wow.
I've been writing since I was a kid. Like I've loved poetry and just kind of turning them into songs and making them up. And that's kind of how I get that out, whether the song gets like finished or not, it's out there. So, it's all of those things in one. Mental, what did you say? Brain chemistry?
Yeah, brain chemistry, the main four chemicals that make up our brain. I mean,
Mm,
what we eat and what we spiritually feed on, how we breathe, all of this, our gut
yeah.
biome, right? All of this really affects our brain chemistry, which is really the one that uses most of our energy during the day, not our body. And any type of healing too also is an exertion of energy. We don't think of it that way. We just think that a purposeful exertion of exercise is what uses our energy, but we also use energy to heal. So like when
Yeah.
you go for a chiropractic or acupuncture or any Reiki, any type of these healing modalities, they actually use our energy as well. So taking into account like how much stored energy we have each day based on our nutrition, supplements, and our
Yeah.
rest, like, are we overdoing it? Right. So yeah, the journaling helps. It's like, a stream that has a very large log in its way, and the journaling and the movement help remove that log so that you can flow again. And that's
Yeah.
really what blood, oxygen to the physical body, but also, to our brains as well, to our brain, really important.
Amazing. And then Michelle, so your online platform, you have courses, online courses, right? Or is it just in person? Can you just tell us a little bit more about that and where our listeners can find you, what they can contact you for, and what they can learn from you? Obviously, Lua, there's legal stuff too. They can obviously, contact you for, but what can they contact you for from michellmanu.com?
Okay, so I have a system since my teacher Solomon passed away. Olohe taught only martial arts of the Lua, the warrior cultural practice, or what we call a martial art, then only indigenous to Hawaii. And my system's called Nakoa. We had two divisions. Well, first, only one division, Wahine only, women only. And then I started to accept Kane, the men, and they were separate. And then last July, so it's been a year where they have been combined for balance for the Hina and the Ku. It's really great.
Love
And
it.
so I have about 9 students that come and go in person at the Palua in Costa Mesa, California, and then some that come and go in Hilo, which I'm relocating to Oahu now as of October. But
Yay.
also most, I know it's so exciting. So more of my students are virtual than not, and so I have about 32 students right now, and some are Danzanryu practitioners, which most of you that are listening know that Danzanryu actually has Lua concealed within it. So there's like our cousins, right, that are joining, and so it's great to have them with me too. So a lot of them are remote, and this was birthed during COVID. I was teaching already all over, and I was renting space at the place that I have now that I have a lease with. But it got serious during COVID because everyone was home and they were
Yep.
dying for more time in training or wanting to train. So there's an application process to train with me. It's not just Lua, the martial aspect. Includes the warrior massage basics, Lua Lomi or Lomi Lomi Koa. It absolutely has the mandatory study of the hula dance. We use Awana too, the contemporary, because yes, no, that's not ancient, but it is part of our culture, and it helps our Haumana, the students, to understand the movement of the energy up and down the spine. So we use Kahiko too, the ancient mostly. And then lastly is the metaphysical science portion, the Pohihihi. And while we have very little information about this in the ancient practice, we understand that this is probably the most important portion of the warrior practice. Not during the time of battle, obviously, we need to be proficient to work going down the battlefield, but to not have mastery over yourself or to evolve is a big danger, especially when you're learning techniques that are devastating and fatal. And it's very important for my students to maintain a Koa journal, a warrior journal. I don't expect for there to be any techniques in it at all. It is about their journey and what they found difficult, what didn't resonate, what does resonate, and where they were and where they are and where they intend to go. And so there's a degreed program to black belt and above. And then there's also, which you'll receive a dual rank of Kaihewalu as well as Nakoa at that time of black belt warrior level 8. It's really connected with with Haumea, which is the rank evaluations are during the equinox, so 4 times a year. And we do discuss all sorts of elementals, and each level is tied to a specific element. So very different than the Christian aspect that you'll find in a lot of the martial arts. It's above that. It's to source, right? It's not the main religions that are practiced in the world today. We're going back to the source of the main ancient religion of nature. And
Yeah.
so that's what we study. That's Nakoa. The website is Nakoa Wahine, NAKOAWAHINE.org. And we also have Nakoa Kane, KANE.org. They both go to Wahine, and you can find information there. I also have an online classroom with the curriculum. And every recorded class for the last 2.5 years is contained on that website for self-study. Like tonight, I'm supposed to have class, and I'll be with you at your fitness gym, your studio. And so class is canceled, and the Haumanu will have to self-study and write in their Koa journals tonight. And that's just how it works when I have to travel. And they're amazing. amazing. I have some amazing haumana. So that, and so I'm on, nakawahine.org, michellemanu.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and as well as Twitter, which of course I'm not on Twitter as much, but
Yeah.
I don't like talking. I like showing. So
Yeah.
yeah, you
Oh
may
my
not like
God.
me, but you'll respect my skill level.
Yeah.
That's
Like
what
any
I
good
look at.
parent, right? It's like,
All right.
oh my gosh. Well, thank you again so much, like for agreeing to be here and to teach my students as well. I'm still a small studio here, so it's just out of the
Love
home
it.
studio, and I'm so beyond grateful for you. And sorry guys, I get her tonight. But it's truly an honor, and I can't even believe it. So I'm so grateful for that, and just our whole conversation. And oh my God, I wish it was like a 3-hour thing, but like I said, I get to see you later, and I hope to have you back on the podcast maybe in like a few months or next year and see where
Sure.
you're
I love
at. And,
that. Okay, great.
and we'll talk, like, see what you've learned. And just like you have your students do with their journaling, like everything changes, and who knows where I'll be in that time too.
And that's
So
what I was saying, check in with you too. So
yeah.
that would be
Um,
great.
I'm super excited, and I just want to thank you so much again for your time today, and
Mhm.
for all of our listeners. Everything that we've talked about, or most of the things that we talked about, I will put in the show notes. So all of Michelle's links, and anybody and everything that she's referenced, I will do my best to put within the show notes. So Michelle, thank you so much again, and I will see you later.
Yes. See you later. Mahalo, Kolo. Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
A big mahalo to all you listeners and viewers out there for tuning into another episode of Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship podcast. Today's episode was so much fun. I know we went over time, but I'm so grateful for Kumu Michelle's time, her lessons, and just what she can offer in the scope of historical, cultural, and current knowledge of business and martial arts. There's so much to be conveyed and transferred between those two things. And that's why, as a martial artist myself and business owner, so much plays into each other. You learn so much from martial arts and how to deal with yourself, with people, which really can benefit you within business. So, and whether that be whatever kind of movement you do, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's just, lifting in the gym, it all can teach you resilience and just kind of pushing past your boundaries and understanding the confidence within yourself. So I hope that you guys got that out of this episode. And again, just thank you so much to Kumu Michelle Manu. You are amazing, and you have such a great energy and spirit, and you definitely give a lot to others. And I hope that you are getting in return all the wonderful energy that you deserve. So thank you again. And listeners, please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also download your favorite episodes on your favorite podcast listening apps. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of those. Please tag us at TaskoFit, TASKOFIT. You can hashtag WWWE podcast, or if you want to write it all out, hashtag Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship. And that's it. We're just super grateful. Be sure to tune in next Monday for another incredible episode with another amazing warrior woman in this world of entrepreneurship. Because no matter what, if you are an entrepreneur, you are a warrior of some kind, because you are fighting every day for your business. So mahalo, guys. Aloha.